Welcome to the podcast, where we're diving into some rather intriguing changes coming from YouTube. The kind that really shake up things for 2025, right from the CEO's announcement.
Yeah. So we're talking about these major changes laid out by the YouTube CEO that are aimed at reshaping our experience on the platform in 2025.
Oh, absolutely. It's like they're setting a new stage for everything. From the way content is managed to even how creators might interact with fans.
Oh, yep.
Just a whole new playbook.
I'm curious, though, because when you dive into it, you see hints of change in the core infrastructure, even down to like the legal and policy sections you'd see on the site.
Yeah, right.
Almost as if they're redefining not just the user experience, but the entire framework.
Exactly. It's fascinating because, you're not just looking at a new logo or a minor update. It's a layered, holistic change that touches everything from the About section to the press info, all the way to features like NFL Sunday Ticket.
That's an interesting pick there, NFL Sunday Ticket. Now, I wonder if that's a clue towards more integrated multimedia partnerships in the future.
Yeah, exactly.
Blending traditional sports broadcasting with digital streaming innovations.
For sure, it's like they're saying, hey, we're not just about hosting videos anymore.
Indeed.
But about expanding into live events and exclusive content with premium partnerships.
And let's not forget how all these pieces, the about, press, terms, privacy policy, and safety, are practically the backbone of the service, which reassures users about security while still promising big innovation.
Right. Because when you look at how meticulously they list even stuff like developers and test new features, it tells you that no stone is being left unturned in this evolution.
And I mean, think about the sheer scale. Google LLC is behind it all, right? So it's like having the muscle of a giant tech ecosystem backing these changes, which can accelerate innovations quite rapidly.
Sure. But here's something I find particularly compelling. How this big shift isn't happening overnight. It's like a strategic roadmap for 2025 that communicates long-term vision rather than just a quick fix, which is a bold move in this fast-paced digital era.
Right, but I do have to challenge this a bit. Sometimes these long-term plans can sound a bit too ambitious. Are we sure that all these promises will resonate with everyday users who just want a seamless, reliable experience? Because bold strategies can sometimes backfire if not implemented well.
Well, yeah, there's always that risk when you shift paradigms at this scale, but it also pushes other competitors to step up their games as well.
True, it's a high-stakes game. And looking at the content, it seems like there's an emphasis on testing new features aggressively, almost like a live lab, where quick feedback loops can fine-tune the user experience.
Absolutely. And that iterative approach is something I find really exciting because it speaks to a community-centric model where creators and users can have instant interactions with the changes.
Yep, indeed.
It's like building a house while the future inhabitants contribute to the design.
That's an interesting analogy. It's like each feature is a room being tailored to fit exactly what the audience needs.
Exactly.
Right? Where even the traditional aspects like legal info and copyright details are not just bureaucratic necessities, but integral parts of an evolving ecosystem.
And if we look closer at the footer info, stuff like creators, advertise, developers, it's almost as if they're, laying out a roadmap to include every single stakeholder in this digital future, broadening the horizon to be all-encompassing.
All right, but don't you think there's a risk that too much emphasis on testing can lead to a fragmented user experience where not everyone is on board with the changes?
Yeah, that's a valid concern.
Really, it's a delicate balance between innovation and overwhelming the audience.
Exactly. It's like they're juggling these radical innovations while keeping one eye on the core values that made YouTube the go-to platform, ensuring that while new features thrive, the everyday usability doesn't suffer.
And speaking of core values, the mention of things like NFL Sunday Ticket also suggests a nod towards traditional, well-loved content integrated into a modern streaming framework, which has its
indeed.
own set of challenges, but also massive opportunities.
Right? It's kind of like having your cake and eating it too. Balancing legacy content with new age digital innovations.
Yeah, I get that.
And it's not an easy act to pull off under the pressure of user expectations and legal boundaries.
So the big narrative here seems to be about transformation on multiple fronts: technological, creative, and even regulatory.
Exactly.
With the backing of some heavy industry players like Google.
Yep. And I gotta say, by openly announcing these sweeping changes, the YouTube CEO is, throwing down a
right on.
gauntlet to the industry, signaling that the platform isn't resting on its laurels.
And that's where I see another challenge. While ambition is great, it may also lead to some growing pains, especially for creators used to the current system.
Definitely.
Because adapting to
you
big
hit the nail on the
changes
head
can
there.
be like messy sometimes.
True. It's a bit of a double-edged sword, right? On one hand, you have cutting-edge innovation. On the other, there's the risk of alienating a loyal base that's comfortable with the status quo.
Yep.
So it's all about finding that sweet spot.
And I wonder how these changes will reflect in everyday interactions. For example, how the contact us or privacy policy gets reinterpreted for a new, smarter platform. Oh, absolutely. It's like they're infusing user trust into the very DNA of the platform. Yes, indeed. It reminds me a bit of how tech evolves in layers. First, the flashy changes grab all the attention, and then the underlying framework gets the upgrade to support that brilliance, ensuring that there's no disconnect between appearance and the actual functionality.
Exactly. It's almost as if they're saying, we're not just building a new facade, we're upgrading the engine inside. A holistic reinvention of both form and function.
And while that sounds pretty exciting, I'll be watching closely to see if the rollout meets the hype, especially in such turbulent tech times where user expectations are sky high.
No doubt. And I think the inclusion of a tested, iterative approach with new features means they're trying to learn from real-world usage as they go along.
Kind of like a beta release on steroids, right? Where feedback loops become the most valuable asset in fine-tuning each change. Yeah, it's like having a continuous conversation with the audience. Exactly.
I really like that perspective. It indicates a forward-thinking model where the platform evolves based on actual user behavior and real-time data, though it might also mean rapid shifts that some users find overwhelming.
And here's where the challenge really stands out. Balancing the desire for innovation with the need for stability. A tricky equation indeed when you have millions of users counting on a consistent experience.
Absolutely. And if we think about the broader ecosystem, these changes could ripple out and redefine industry standards overall.
Yeah, I feel that.
Not just for YouTube, but for streaming services worldwide.
So, in essence, the announcement is not just a headline grabber. It's a signal that we're entering a new era of digital content, one where every element, from policies to partnerships, gets reimagined for the future.
Exactly.
And that's a shift we've all been waiting for, right?
Right on. It's this blend of ambition, readiness to innovate, and practical steps to include every stakeholder that sets the stage for 2025.
Absolutely.
Making it one of the most eagerly anticipated evolutions in the digital world.